We're going to spend a few minutes looking at a few of the big picture items before we dive into the details a little bit later in future modules. So the big takeaways from this is we're preparing you to be professionals, and any organization that you join as a professional will have policies and procedures in place that all employees are expected to know and to understand. Likewise, as a student at Midlands Tech or any university or college, there are going to be policies and procedures in place that you are also expected to know and to understand and to comply with. And so you went through a new student orientation of some kind, and also you should have completed a virtual backpack for online students. And so you should be comfortable with using the email systems, the MyMTC, using D2L. There are a lot of resources we'll talk about in future modules. I'm not going to get into now, but you certainly should understand how to use the tools online to be successful as an online student. You need to monitor your email. You need to check in on D2L frequently to do your work and to check for any feedback from instructors. Okay, you should understand who the leadership is in any organization, and again, at college, no different. Our president is Dr. Gregory Little. He's relatively new as of the summer of 2024. He became our new president. Dr. Barry Kirk is the provost. You've already seen or should have watched the video welcome from her. The job of the provost is she is in charge of all things academic. Okay, so she is the lead academic advisor to the president. And then under her for our school, the School of STEM, is Benjamin Gaston, and the PE is for professional engineer. And under Ben Gaston will be the department chairs, the math department chair, the IST department chair, and so forth. For this particular class, we answer directly to Ben Gaston and not through any individual department. Okay, so some of the big questions here, we're looking at the big picture, right? At this point, you should be able to enunciate what your career goal is, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. What level of education is required or appropriate? And this is really one of the big things in this module, is to make sure that you are aiming at the right level of education for the career that you are aiming for. Many students, I've discovered having taught this frequently, is that students will often have a misalignment between what their stated career goal is and what the education level is that they're going to use to achieve that career. You should understand eventually your pathway to achieve this career. And the other thing is you're prepared and motivated. And we're going to talk more about that in future modules. But just to highlight the idea of matching your career with your level of education, let's just take a look at this example. The difference between a software developer versus a software engineer. Now, I will have many students that will come in and say that they are going to be software engineers, which implies a very specific type of degree. But when I learn more about them and I see what they're trying to aspire to become, what they really are aiming for is to be software developers, more involved in writing code and not the engineering aspect of software development, which is a different animal. Completely different levels of education, 4 year versus 2 year, very, very technical versus a little bit maybe less technical as a software developer. And so the difference, if you look at a couple examples, everybody I think would understand the difference between an architect and a carpenter. An architect designs the structures, understands all the engineering that goes into creating a building of some sort, where a carpenter executes the design of the architect. They actually do the building. They don't do the designing, they do the building. Likewise with a software engineer. The software engineer is the architect of a big, complex software system. The software developer is the carpenter, the one that actually executes the plan to create the code and the modules for the software. Different education, um, completely different jobs. A surgeon versus an OR nurse, for example. They both are in there in the operating room helping to save lives, right? Completely different levels of education, completely different roles. And so you wouldn't declare yourself to want to be a surgeon when in fact what you really wanted to do is be an OR nurse. But yet many students will make this mistake in declaring majors and especially in the technical STEM fields. Okay. Now, of course, there's going to be a difference in salaries. A software engineer is going to make more money than a software developer on average, but it would make sense. They're going to have a lot more education and they're going to have a much different type of job than a software developer. So careers with associate degrees, unless I'm just going to do generic engineering technology, you can see some of the types of careers: engineering technician, CAD technician, field service technician, quality control inspector, maintenance technician. These roles are more practical and applied in nature. Okay. They require technical skills that you've got to go to school to learn, but they typically support the work of engineers and focus on implementation of some kind of engineering design. Okay, big difference. Because if you take a look at the career with a bachelor's degree in engineering, and I just picked two, civil engineering, electrical engineering, you can see like the civil engineering designs and oversees infrastructure projects, such as roads, bridges, and water systems. Again, the design requires a whole lot more education than somebody that's going to execute that design. Okay. And so you can see that the role of a bachelor's degree in engineering is more analytical and design focused with greater emphasis on theoretical knowledge and project leadership. Very, very different. So in summary, the associate's degree prepares you for more hands-on technical roles, which many students want, but they will declare themselves as bachelor degree level careers, and they are not. Okay, so you really need to make sure that you are trying to achieve the correct level of education. Okay, one thing you're going to be doing here, we're going to do a career vision board, and you're going to take a look at the overview. But you're going to create a vision and mission statement, a motivational image quote, and factors in choosing your major in this first part. And I'll just leave that for a later discussion. Okay.